Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'm gonna be doing something that I haven't done before, and that is of course a ranking of my top 10 favorite movie openings, whether if it's superheroes or it's family movies or action movies, animated movies, racing movies, whatever. Like, there is going to be heaps of one genre in here, but it's not throughout the entire list. There are some that I've scribbled in that are cool intros. So number 10 for me is the X-Men vs. the Sentinels in X-Men Days of Future Past. I love the X-Men movies. I think that there's some real good fight scenes, but there isn't a lot of X-Men fight scenes that are like up there as some of the greatest. Whether if it's like, I mean, there's a few I have up there. I mean, I'm gonna be shooting a video that is my top 10 favorite X-Men fight scenes in general, not just final battles. But like, I think that this one is definitely an all-timer. Because, like, you get to see not just Hugh Jackman slicing people up, even though that it's cool seeing Hugh Jackman's Wolverine beat dudes up, but you actually get to see Iceman using his ice abilities, unlike, I mean, he uses them in X3, but, like, he's more cooler in this movie than he is in X3, or X2, right? You get to see Kitty Pryde. You get to see Bishop for the first time. You get to see Blink. You get to see Cyclops, right? So Cyclops from the original X-Men movies, like from X2 and X3, right? And you get to see like the Sentinels, right? Even though that the Sentinels are kind of a kind of nanotech Stark Industry technology, it's cool to see them, right? So, like, you have the whole, like, Iceman having his, ice, power on his face, and, obviously, him down, and then the Sentinel crushes his head. Of course, because it's its ice head, he's not dead. But I think that that's such a cool fight scene. It's a fight scene that you really could have just done. You couldn't have done a fight scene like that until 2011, 2014 timeframe. You couldn't have done that in the original trilogy or X-Men Origins. Right? So I think that that was the perfect fight scene at the right time for a movie opening. Number 9 is the Justice League baby shower and car chase, right, in The Flash. I love this opening scene. I don't understand why people don't, I can't get why people don't like The Flash, but I do not get why people do not like this opening. Like, I was talking to a guy once, when I was doing a Queen show, kind of behind the scenes of a Queen tribute show, right? And he was like, yeah, I didn't really like The Flash, and I was like, that has one, it has the coolest opening ever, but also you have Michael Keaton coming back, and he was like, oh, seeing Michael Keaton was cool, and seeing Supergirl was cool, but I did not like that opening scene. I do not get it. The CGI, sure, is pretty weak, but I honestly think that the dark humor of the baby shower is one of the craziest things in the world. Like, I do not get why people do not like dark humor in fight scenes, or not even fight scenes, like action scenes, right? Like, there's some really funny bits, like you get the whole, like Barry explained to Alfred how he's the cleaner of the Justice League, where like when all the Justice League makes a mess, he's the one that cleans it all up. And the whole thing of him showing the baby in the microwave and all that type of stuff, I thought was very, very funny. I thought that, but I thought it was so cool seeing like the thing of him eating food so he can boost up calories, because he needs to eat more food to stay at the right speed that he needs to be for him to use his full powers. I think that's interesting that we don't explore in Justice League or the Snyder Cut, right? I think it was also, like, even though that you don't really see, like, him, like, fully there, it was cool seeing Henry Cavill's Superman at the volcano, even though that wasn't really a full-on action scene. It was a cool little bit of him flying several people at the volcano. It was cool seeing Gal Gadot rescue Batman on the bridge, right? And the whole things of Barry going like, I know what sex is, I just haven't experienced it. I thought that was very funny, very, very funny. I think that, I mean, Batman is one of my favorite superheroes of all time, right? It's my second favorite next to Spider-Man. And Ben Affleck's Batman in this, I thought he was so, so cool. I actually liked the grey outfit. Like the blue and the grey outfit. I mean, it does look a little weird in the cowl, but not to the point where I'm like, oh my god, that doesn't look like Batman. I loved his whole chase scene on the bike, and also the him beating dudes up in the car, and then his whole bit where he gets knocked down the car and he zip lines and stuff like that. I thought it was so cool. And like seeing Affleck in the Batman suit for one more time was just so cool. Even though that I kind of wish that I would have been curious to see what his role in Aquaman the Lost Kingdom would have been, because apparently before the version that we got two, like, what do you call it, like, versions of Aquaman the Lost Kingdom. We got the Affleck version and we got the Keaton version that were test screening. Even though that I would be happy with either of those versions. Even though that I would have been fine with the version of The Flash and the DCU would have been before James Gunn took over, like Affleck is out and now we have Michael Keaton as like a Batman Beyond kind of Batman, where we had him in Batgirl, we had him in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, we have Henry Cavill back. Like, even though that would have been weird without Ben Affleck, it would have been cool to have the DCEU, at least in general, going forward, right? And apparently the post-credit scene was going to be Affleck in the Nightmare world, which, carrying on that plot from BVS and the Snyder Cut, would have been so cool. But no, so I love the Flash opening. I think that was just such a good way to, how do I put it? It made the DCU feel like a connected universe, like the Marvel movies. Like how the Marvel movies, how in Ant-Man you have Falcon fighting Ant-Man in that scene, or how in Thor the Dark World, where you have Loki disguising himself as Captain America, or you have the post-credit scene of Iron Man 3, where you have Iron Man talking to Bruce Banner for the whole story, because he's narrating the beginning, now he loops back around at the end, right? So I think that would have been so cool to see, but now it feels like that, right? So I thought that was so cool. Number 8 for me is going to be the Buzz Lightyear video game intro for Toy Story 2. I love this intro. This intro feels like a Buzz Lightyear movie that I want to see. Even though I love the Buzz Lightyear movie, the of Buzz Lightyear Spider-Man, the Avenger Begins movie. Even though I love that movie with all my heart, I do kind of go like, I would be nice to see this movie with the Toy Story animated Buzz Lightyear that we know. Even though I do love that movie, right? So I think that is so cool. But I do love the whole thing of him meeting Zurg and that whole interaction. And that kind of ties into the later story, right? Of like how they're trying to get Woody back, but Buzz only knows Zurg through the video game, and also that's the line that he's from. I thought that was just so cool. And seeing that Buzz Lightyear intro, I was like, man, I would love to play that video game. And then we did actually end up getting that video game in the Toy Story 3 video game. That was one of the missions, was completing that whole Buzz Lightyear video game. And even though I do not like, that's wrong. Even though I like the Toy Story 3 video game, that's the mission I replay the most, is the Buzz Lightyear video game portion of that game. That I think was so cool. Now, number 7 for me is the Scooby-Doo Gang vs. the Lunar Ghost. I think that the reason why this one's this high for me is because that, honestly, I think that this movie feels like a really good intro. It feels like the cartoon, where it's like they're already on a mission, trying to figure out how to catch the Lunar Ghost. Scooby and Shaggy are up to God knows what, and Fred makes mistakes, and Velma is calculating all the things that's happening for them to have the perfect plan. I think that it's so good, and the fact that movie is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's one of the best, what do you call it? Oh damn. Oh my god. How do I do it? How do I explain this? But like the, whole bit of the gang going up against the Lunar Ghost and them capturing it is just so cool. And I love how that movie captures the spirit of a Scooby-Doo cartoon in the grand scale. I think that is really, really good. Now, number 6 for me is the Amazing Spider-Man 2 opening scene, where Spider-Man is swinging around and going up against the Rhino on the truck. I think that this fight scene is the Spider-Man opening that is one of the greatest. Like, you have cool ones with the Tobey Maguire one, even though those ones, I prefer those movies more than the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think that the Tobey Maguire movies have really good intros. Like, you get the narration stuff, you get him explain who MJ is in the first one, you get him narrating, and then him going to his work in the second movie with Joe's Pizza. Then the third movie, you get the narration, the montage of him swinging that he's talking to kids about Spider-Man up on the screen, and you get like a whole montage of what his life has been since Spider-Man 2. I think that that's very, very good intros, but the Amazing Spider-Man 2 intro, not the plane scene. The plane scene is kind of like, The movie, this is the opening that they should have started with, where it's like, a black screen, you hear that amazing, amazing Spider-Man score by Hans Zimmer, and you see the Spiral logo, and you're like, wait, where are we? You think that you're gonna kind of pan, that they're gonna cut to a pan back shot of that alleyway in the first one, where Andrew Garfield is walking by and he sees that big gigantic spider on the wall. You think that you're there, but no, then you see the blue coming down, and then you see the fabric moving, and then you're just like, oh my god, it's Spider-Man! And then you get some of the best web swinging, to be honest. Even though I love the web swinging bits that Tobey Maguire does, like the final battle. I mean, not final battle, the final swings, like in Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 1. Even though that those are great final swings, not a lot of the web swinging bits, except for maybe the exception of the third one, where he's web swing and then he needs to go save Gwen from the building. But other than that, there isn't really like a web swing bit in those movies, except for a few, like in Spider-Man 2 and stuff. There's a few that stand out, but not one that's actually like, this is one of the greatest swing bits of all time, because like the swing bits with Tobey Maguire are very short. They're like, they linger for a while, but not to the point where it's like, oh my god, this is fantastic. But this one lingers on Spider-Man being Spider-Man for a long time, and then you finally get to the bit with him and Rhino talking, where he's like, oh Mr. Criminal, and I think it's some of the best clips that we've heard, where like the clips in there are very, very good, and they're better than the first Amazing Spider-Man with the whole body, oh my god, small knives! Oh yeah, just crawl out the window. And then the whole bit of the I think that it's a bit the clips are a bit out there for Spider-Man in the first Amazing Spider-Man. But I think that in this movie they nailed the clips, they nailed the costume, which the costume looks incredible. Andrew Garfield in that scene, even though that you don't see his face in any of the scene, except for the first time you really see his face is when he gets to the graduation, and then you get the whole bit of Gwen doing her speech, that people take the wrong way. Even though that it's in the same movie that Gwen dies, you kind of see the whole bit of, But in the opening, you see that kind of narration that kind of ties at the end of the movie, where Peter realizes that the scene needs Spider-Man. But that speech over the bit where Gwen is, you kind of feel like that she's talking to Peter, but really she's talking about Peter, and the fact that Emma Stone wrote that, and it's more about Spider-Man's death than Gwen's death. That's just so cool, and I love how they did that, right? I think that that's just so cool. That is my number 6. Now, getting into my top 5. My number 5 is the opening race from Too Fast and Too Furious. I do not like Too Fast, Too Furious. I think it's the worst Fast and Furious movie by far. But I honestly think that the first few minutes, like that opening race, is what set the tone for the movie. Set a cool tone for the movie. Kind of expands on something that we got in the first one, but not a lot of. We only got that one bit. But this one looks cool, where you got the neon cars, and you got the lights coming out of the bottom of the cars, and you get the coolest car design in Brian's silver car. I do not know the names of cars, to be honest, but his silver car is my favourite Brian car. So I just love that, and I think it's so good. I love that opening race, and the fact that we get introduced to, to Tej in that movie is so cool. I love Tej in Too Fast, Too Furious. I think that there's a lot of really cool race moments in the Too Fast, Too Furious opening scene that we don't get a lot of, unless it's like the first one we get a little bit. We get a decent amount of it in Too Fast, Too Furious, but we get even more in Tokyo Drift, like street race type stuff. It's not until like I think Fast 5 is where it starts to become more action. Even though that you really get cool ideas of even though that you get cool ideas in 4 of the tunnels and that type of stuff. But I love the Too Fast, Too Furious opening. I think it's so good. Number 4 for me is the Avengers vs. Hydra in Avengers Age of Ultron. That is one of the coolest superhero openings ever. I love that opening. I think it's amazing. And I think that the thing that makes it so cool is that we get to see the Avengers being the Avengers. The first movie is like, they're the Avengers, but they're fighting each other for most of the movie, and then the final battle, that's where you finally get the actual Avengers being the Avengers. But this movie started off with the Avengers being Avengers, and then we can't get that throughout the whole movie. But the opening is such a Avengers opening, and I love it. It's one of the best openings to an Avengers movie. Even though I love the opening to Infinity War and Endgame, this is the most true opening to an Avengers movie ever, and I bloody love it. I think it's amazing. And I think that it's also like one of those things where it's like you get introduced to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, which they do kind of use Quicksilver a bit. He is, I mean, not dodgy in the sense that he's bad, but they did Quicksilver a little dirty. But that was maybe because of the whole thing with 20th Century Fox and that type of stuff, right? So I think that there's a lot of stuff in there that's good but not great type thing, you know? But no, I love the Avengers vs. Hydra fight. I think it's so good. Number 3 is the War on Cybertron fight from Bumblebee. When I saw this movie, I was skeptical because I did not like The Last Knight. But I thought that the trailers for Bumblebee looked so good, and I was like, okay, it's showing some Cybertron bits, but I think that those are going to be like flashback bits where it's like you see the flashback. I thought the only stuff that you were going to see of the Cybertron fight was the bit where you get the hologram of Optimus Prime when Bumblebee and Charlie are laying down, and the Optimus Prime hologram comes up, and I thought that was the only flashback you were going to get was that, and then that flashback that happens after that. But the fact that it opens with it, I was like, oh my god, you're kidding me, they're starting on Cybertron? Like, what has this Transformers movie been? And then you have, like, obviously, RC's there, Soundwave, Shockwave. You see all of the original G1 Transformers designs, and I haven't seen the G1 designs, but I knew that they looked a lot more cleaner and slick as opposed to the Bay ones, even though I like the Michael Bay Transformers designs from 1 and 2 in particular. But these designs were a lot more cleaner, and I loved it for that. And I looked at like, that is actually very, very cool. And I was like, we get to see Bumblebee where he's shorter than everyone else, as opposed to the Bay ones where he's like the same height as every Autobot, which is like more than 6 feet. Oh, I guess a little more than 6 feet. Taller than how Michael Bay and all that made the Ninja Turtles in those recent Ninja Turtle movies. But no, it's like, it's such a crazy thing that we did not get a Transformers movie that has that, like, poof, kind of ability with that stuff, right? I think it's just crazy to me. Number 2 for me is Deadpool versus the TVA agents in Deadpool Wolverine with Bye Bye Bye. I knew that the opening was going to be good, but I didn't know how good it was going to be. I was like, the first time I watched Deadpool Wolverine, I was like, okay, how are they going to do the intro? Because the first one we get the amazing freeze frame, circle around the car thing, and then in the second one we get the Celine Dion James Bond kind of opening. But this one, oh my god, even though that is, I was like, oh my god, I love this intro. Not only because you know that he's in the MCU fighting TVA agents, which is very, very dope. But then you also see the whole thing of, what you call it? The whole bit of the main commentary of what everyone was concerned about, of like, oh, is this movie going to wreck the legacy of Logan? It does, in both a respectful way and a way that's like, we're going to shit all over Logan's legacy. Well, at least that variant of Logan, right? But that's for a whole another video, is how great the opening is, even though that kind of craps on Logan's legacy, that Logan. Even though that I still love Deadpool Wolverine, that's one of the things where I'm like, kind of like, that is hilarious and I'm fine with that. But I do kind of see how that's a bit of a fault. But The only thing that I don't get with this intro, well, I do get, because, like, how else are you going to the credits? Because when you do the main two actors' credits, you did the Ryan Reynolds one was cool, where he knocks the Blade dude in the head, and then he uses Wolverine's adamantium bone to stab the TVA agent in the head. Even though that's like, okay, you're acting like that this is a 3D movie when it's not, and this is not in 3D. But it is also like a decision of like, well, how are we going to do the task creatively? And I thought that was cool. I think that there were really cool ones, but I also thought that they were really not good ones. Like the one where he's swinging around his like Logan's head, right, and by his spine, like by the back of his neck, spine stuff. That bit, I loved that bit, but the only thing that I didn't like is that, like, you can see that, like, they, like, photoshopped or put a Hugh Jackman credit over that kind of last minute, because you just kind of see it slide on where it's, like, the full head out frame. I mean, not out frame, but off the dude's head. As opposed to the Ryan Reynolds one where it's like, you, cookie, go there, next shot, Ryan Reynolds credit. That's the only thing that I was kind of like, well, could have done that a little bit better, but, you know. But I do love it, and I think that the cutaways to the dancing, oh my god. Having Bye Bye Bye, I did not know what Bye 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 before watching this movie. So I watched that movie and I was like, you're kidding me. So having the cutaways to Deadpool doing Bye 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 and the inventive credits on top of that, I thought was so cool, and I loved that. I think that was amazing, right? So, but of course, number one is the Ninja Turtles going to the basketball game in Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. This is, in a way that, this opening is a way to do a very silly intro that makes no goddamn sense. And how are they flying? Well, not flying, but like, they have no sense of gravity to some of that, but like, it's also like, well, who cares? It's the Ninja Turtles. This franchise, like, makes sense, but wasn't meant to make sense in the first place, so you kind of go like, when you have that mentality, you're just kind of like, whatever, like, sure. And like, having the Ninja Turtles, like, having inventive things like having Donnie and Raph team up, with the whole thing going into the swimming pool and that sort of stuff, and having Mikey using his rocket skateboard more was so cool, and I loved that, right? I think that was dope. I loved the, obviously, the Kevin Eastman cameo was amazing. It was like a Stan Lee cameo without having him talk. It was like how they used to do Stan Lee cameos, where it was like, how in the Spider-Man ones, it would be a quick one-shot of him, or it would be like an X-Men, where it's like, he'll just be on the beach, and you see, like, all these people in one shot, and Stan Lee is kind of on the side, but you can notice that Stan Lee, right? I think that there was so cool seeing that, and, like, the title screen's coming up, where it's like, alright guys, you know the drill, let's get that box from Mikey! Give me that. And then you see Leo, the leader, as he zooms past. And then Raph, as he's trying to hold the pizza and not fall, you see Raph, the muscle. And then when Mikey takes it back, Donnie grabs it with the, with the grappling hook. And then as he gets knocked in the face, you see Donnie, the brains. And then as it comes back up, Raph holds it. And then, like, they throw it up in the air. And then Mikey catches it. And then as the pizza slice goes across his mouth, and he's going like, you see Mikey, the pizza lover. I think that was such a cool intro, and that's like a intro that you kind of know that you kind of get with a Ninja Turtles movie, but it's also like, it's a sequel, so it's like, but it's also a bit of a soft reboot, where it's like, if you haven't seen the first one, that's totally fine. This is a one where it's in the same world, but we're changing the designs, we're changing the backgrounds, the whatchamacallit, like, a little bit more the brightness of the Turtles, right? And it's not like the comics where it's dark and gritty. This is more like a movie version of the 1987 cartoon, and I love that for that. So that is my top 10 favourite movie openings of all time, guys. Please Hit the like button down below if you haven't already. Subscribe also to the little bell icon to get notified future videos that I make. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.